All right, we are live for another episode of Real Estate Junkies podcast. And today we have with us Ryan Smith. He's the expert behind Launch Your Farm. He also has a podcast and a leader in geographic farming strategies for real estate agents with over 16 years of experience as a real estate agent and nearly 6 years teaching geographic farming. Ryan will share with us unique strategies to help you grow your business and become a community expert. If you want to learn how to master geo farming in today's market, this episode is for you. So, you want to tune in and discover how to boost your real estate business with modern farming strategies. Ryan, it's a pleasure having you on the podcast. Welcome.
Awesome. I'm super glad to be here, and I'm super excited to dive in and share my love of farming with you and your audience.
For sure. And before we get into farming, can you share with us your journey into real estate? What got you started, and what was that experience like?
Sure. Yeah. I say the theme with my business is love and away and towards love. So it all started with I was 25 years old. I was trying to figure out my life. I had just got out of a relationship and I wanted a fresh start. I got into real estate and I moved 3.5 hours away. I didn't know anyone other than my aunt and uncle there. I just wanted to kind of just pack up, leave the hometown I grew up in. Started there for a couple of years, joined a team, did well with it. And then I met someone else, and then I moved for love, and then I moved to a new area and started my business all over again. Literally knew her, and that was the only person I knew. Did that for about 4 years there. I really picked up every strategy I could. I was trying everything. I tried everything you could think of for the business. And then I was there. We ended up breaking up our relationship, and then my mom got sick, and so I was driving back and forth 2.5 hours to go visit my parents, and I decided to move closer to my parents, so I moved again. So for the love of my parents, I moved back to be closer home, started all over again in a new area, and then I was there, and then I kind of got burnt out from the business, and so
Yeah.
I took on a role as a productivity coach at our office, and I was coaching other agents, and I was helping them grow their business. And I'd never really done farming at a high level, but I had tried it a couple times, and then I was helping them build their farms, and I started studying what was working. I started seeing what kind of things would work, how would I do things differently. So after coaching agents for a few years, watching them succeed, making multiple six figures, I was like, this is ridiculous. I got to go back. Let me figure out farming and try it in my own business and give it a fair shot. So I launched my own farm. I partnered with a business partner, and I said, I'm going to show you. He was a newer agent. I think he was 24, 25 at the time. I was like, I'll take you under my wings. We'll work this together. We'll build a farm out together. I'll show you all the things. Let's do this. And I want to use that as kind of my laboratory, and we'll kind of use it as my way to test out my theories to see if they'll work. And we launched our farm. So we started in September, and we got our first listing in January. And from January for the next 15 months, we ended up getting 17 transactions.
Wow.
In an area I had no experience in, no sales in, no nothing, just using the things that I knew would work. And so we did well with that. I ended up selling that off to that side of the business to him. And then I decided I want to go back into coaching because I'm like, that really was where my heart was at. My passion was in helping agents grow their business.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And then for a few years, I ended up getting back into coaching again. And I launched Launch Your Farm just before COVID hit. And then just after COVID hit, my partner and I, we moved back to my hometown. So her and I packed up with the kids, moved back down. So I've moved 4 times in my year in my business, and I literally had to start my business all over. So for the last 4 years, I've been focusing on the farm and the farming business. And my partner, Nikki, she does the day-to-day of the real estate. And that's a long answer into a very short.
So there's a lot to unpack there, but I will ask, what was the difference between what you tried before? Like, sounds like to me before you did the traditional methodologies of building businesses, going into new markets, and then when you came back and doing it solely with farming, what were some of the core changes you have seen in the approach?
Great question, and that's, I think, very easy for me to answer. The first time I ever tried farming, I had no clue what I was doing, and I did what I thought was supposed to do, which was get my name out there. If I just get my name out there to enough people, if I just tell people that I'm in business, if I just tell people how awesome I am, then I'm gonna get deals. And what I realized was it wasn't about getting my name out there. It was about building relationships, and it was about getting their names into me. And when I started focusing on relationship building and growing my database instead of just pushing my message out there. It was
Mm.
about switching it from pushing your message to having conversations with people and
Yeah.
reframing how I did that. So everything I did was switching to adding value to people so that
Mm.
I can connect with them and then continue the conversation. So essentially, our farm, when we did it at the high level, there was 3,600 homes in the farm. And
Wow.
that really, I would say that really wasn't our farm. It was the people that were in our database. That was the farm. That just
Mm.
happened to be the feeder that fed into who we were focusing on. So we ended up getting about 450 people that were getting our monthly reports that we drop off. Those are the people that we loved on. Those are the people that we built relationships with. Those are the
Yeah.
people that we connected with. And that really escalated our sales quickly.
Wow. And what would you say some of the early challenges when going into farming for yourself, like after teaching some of the agents in the office that you
Yeah.
face and that you think the real estate agents usually face?
So I'd say the common errors I think agents make is they farm too big of an area without understanding how to farm.
Mm.
That's one of the biggest ones. So there's two main ones I see after speaking to thousands of agents. First is they go too big. They think, well, I'm going to miss out. So I need to go in too broad of an area. And then they realize they run out of money, they run out of time, they run out of resources, and they can't consistently do it. And the other
Yeah.
one that they make is that they think is it's all about getting their name out there, which is a huge mistake they make. And then
Mm.
another mistake that they make is that they don't stick with it long term. So I
Mm.
see agents come to me all the time saying, "Hey, I've tried farming." And I just dig a little bit deeper. Say, tell me about that. Well, I sent out postcards for 2 months and then nothing happened, so I quit. I was like, that's not farming. You
Yeah.
tried some marketing and it failed, and you moved on to the next thing. So I think those are three big ones. And when those three things happen all at the same time, then you usually get kind of catastrophic failure. I did that my own when I first started. Picked an area, didn't know what I was doing, made it about me, and didn't stick with it long enough. And I was another number, just like every other agent who failed. It wasn't until we shifted and I changed the approach that's when things really took off.
No, that's a great point. I think honestly, I probably don't know farming now that this conversation I'm hearing you. And it makes sense. This is the stuff we teach people on the digital side of things. Like, hey, it's less about your experience, less about if you're top 1% agent and
Yeah.
blah, 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 right? It's more about adding value to your ideal audience, picking a niche, right? So
Yep.
tell us what is geofarming and how do you define it?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a good question because I get newer agents who maybe not have been around it, have an idea of what they think it is, or don't know what it is at all. I find there's also seasoned vets who think they know what farming is. So when I ask, I do this in a lot of my training. I'll ask,
Mm.
what's the first word you think of? And most people, they'll say it's postcards and door knocking.
Direct mails, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they think if I just send a bunch of postcards, if I just send a bunch of flyers, that's farming.
Mm.
I always say those are strategies that you can use in farming. Doesn't mean they're the
Yeah.
most effective. It doesn't mean they're the best, but that's not what farming is. So for me, I developed an acronym that what I really believe farming is at its core. And after studying lots of agents and studying businesses, it's called CPR, which is community, positioning, and relationships. And when you understand that, then you can reframe how you see farming. So it's community first. So you put the community ahead of the transaction instead of being about me and how great I am, how the best, how I've sold more homes than anyone. It's putting the community ahead of them. Then it's positioning, which is you position yourself as an ambassador and an expert. And when you do that, you can shift how people see you and how people interact with you. Again, being an expert doesn't mean you have to sell more homes. It means
Mm.
you position yourself in a way that builds trust and
Yeah.
credibility. And then lastly, you focus on building relationships. So my long-winded answer for geographic farming is strategically focusing your expertise, marketing efforts, and prospecting efforts in one geographic area to become a local expert to build long-term relationships. It's a long-winded answer, but really it comes
Yeah.
down to being hyper-focused and building relationships in that community long-term. How you do that can change. What strategies you do can change, and it can be dependent on you and your community and what
Mm.
areas you're focusing on. So that's a super long-winded answer to say build relationships in a geographic area and really become
Hyper
the
local.
go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why do you believe geofarming is such an effective strategy in today's real estate market for real estate agents? Why do they need to be doing that?
Because I've seen what happens if you don't, and I've seen the other side of it, and I've seen agents try to be all things to all people and fail miserably. I've seen agents who have their website with "I specialize in," Acton, Angus, and there's a list of 17 cities and towns that they work in.
Buying, selling,
Right.
investing, renting.
Exactly. Exactly. So I've seen firsthand when you do focus, the value that brings and the ability to build credibility and trust goes to
Hmm.
the roof.
Yep.
And for me, I'd rather drive 5 minutes to my farm than drive 50 minutes to an appointment and no one shows up because you get pissed off. Like, so it's way more focused, way more intentional. The relationship strength is through the roof, and you can position yourself in a much easier way. I can, like I said, we were new to that area, no sales in the area, and we got 17 transactions in 15 months from an area I had no experience in. Because we learned to position ourselves effectively, it built trust. If I was trying to sell all over to all different places, you don't get that.
Yeah.
So it's just, to me, it's more enjoyable. So
Hmm. I think the scarcity when it comes to marketing, a lot of agents feel like if I'm available to more areas and more people, and I say I'm a specialist for everything, then
yeah,
more people will come to me without realizing that, hey, if you're trying to speak to 7 billion people,
yep,
very little people are hearing you
yep,
anyway. Like
yep,
it's impossible to talk to 7 billion people. But if you're specifically talking to, let's just say 1,000 people, right?
yep,
Right away, you're getting traction in the marketplace. Doesn't mean you're going to consistently stay with speak, even though like if you all you did over 10-year 20-year period speak to just that 1,000 people, imagine the number of business you would get, right?
yep,
So I think it comes from the scarcity, like really
100%.
niching down, really focusing on a small group of people. They feel like, oh, I'm going to miss out on business,
Yeah,
where they actually miss out on business anyway. Right?
exactly. It's the fear of missing out through the roof. It's I don't want to go over here. And I always tell agents, you can still do business outside that area.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, an hour spent here and an hour spent here, an hour spent here is going to be much more intentional and purposeful than an hour spent wherever. And
Yeah.
the results are huge. And I share the story all the time. My friend Adam, he was new agent, brand new to the business. I took him under my wing. I was helping him out. And he came to me, he's like, I spoke with my wife. She said I could spend $100 a month. And for the next year, if I don't get anything, she's not going to kill me. So he's like, all right. So they agreed. They had $100 a month. So we picked a little farm area, and he kind of mapped out what he wanted to do. And there was 280 homes in this little
Wow.
tiny, it was a little triangle. The highway cut this little area off. He focused on this area. And in that area, there was, I think it was 11 sales that happened. He got 8 deals from that small little
Wow,
280
he
homes.
took over. It's
Right.
like the top
Exactly.
1% agent there.
Exactly. So I've seen results that agents can get in small areas because when you become hyper focused, people know who you are. They get to know you at a high level, and you can build that trust. And then I've seen agents farm 50,000 areas, and with just sending out blanket postcards that are generic and not get the
Mm,
results. And it's like, man, if people understood, they'll get way more business being hyper focused. But
yeah,
it's a faith thing. You have to have faith, and you have
yeah,
to know that if I do this, it's going to pay off. But I will also add, you have to do the right things, because
yeah.
a lot of people have come before them and been slaughtered with doing the wrong things.
Mm.
And yeah, they don't know what to do.
Yeah, I think I say this all the time, and I learned this from Tony Robbins. There is three elements, actually five, but let's just talk about the focus on the three. Is number one, you have to have belief, right, in
Yep.
yourself and the process, right? Like you have to have belief that I could do this
Yep.
and I deserve it, and if I do this, this process will work. Number two is strategy. What is the
Yeah.
process, right? Knowledge of how to do farming, right?
Yep.
And number three is standard, like hold yourself accountable to be able
100%.
to pull it off, right?
Yep.
Most people who fail are failing at one of these three things, or all three, or two
Yes.
of these things, right?
Yep.
Like they're missing either standard, like they know what to do, they believe that if they did it, they will get
Yeah.
the business and they will be successful, but they just don't have the standard. They're waking up whenever they want to
Yeah.
and doing things whatever they want to do, right? And whenever they're feeling like it, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about strategy, right? So what are some unique or modern farming strategies that agents can implement right now to stand out in the market?
Yeah. So I think the key is understanding what to do. You need to start with a couple things. First, you have to know what your budget is before you start to discuss strategy.
Hmm.
So I'll talk about budget, and then I'll come back to strategies first. So first, I always tell agents, start with your budget, and that's not just your financial budget. That's your time budget and your energy budget and your resource budget. So how much money are you willing to commit to this, and for how long? And then how much time am I committing to this? Because a lot of agents get in, like you said, they don't have the standards to it. And they
Yeah.
get in and go, I'm going to try farming. They try it for a month. They put all their money into their farm for 2 months and then go, well, if I don't get anything, then I'm going to jump out. So
Oh yeah,
having
shiny. They had shiny object syndrome.
exactly. So having that standard of what you're going to spend and how you're going to do that, now you can then work backwards from that. So then I always tell people you need to build your plan around what your budget is and how many homes you do. Now, coming back to actual strategies. For me, I always say you need two sources of strategies at a bare minimum. You need something that tries to get you now business and builds you long-term business. And
Mm,
you need to have at least those two things. So what can I do right now to try to generate leads now? And then what can I do to build long-term relationships? Once you know that, then you can start going, okay, how do I backfill in those strategies? And then, so I have a thing I developed called the scope method.
mm,
And it's creating a balance in all the strategies that you do. So scope stands for self-promotion, community, online, offline, prospecting, and education. And in order to achieve maximum results and get the most out of your business, you need to make sure you're hitting all five of those things through your strategies. So you may have one strategy that covers one of them, but if you're not getting all five of those things in your business, then you're missing a large percentage of potential business that you could get.
mm.
So then I go through and say, okay, well, what strategies am I doing? And then you start to fill in the blank. So does your strategy include self-promotion? Are you reaching the community? Are you doing online and offline? Do you have a prospecting element, and are you doing an education in there?
Mm.
Then you can backfill it. So it comes down to that to start, and then go, okay, now how do I reach people? And this is where people fail. They want to take the back seat and just send out postcards and not have to do any work. They want to do the quick and easy thing and not want to have to go out there. One of the most effective things is door knocking. By far, like the agents who are willing to do door knocking done well have tremendous results.
Yeah.
So we have a neighborhood report that's we send out each month, and that's our biggest lead generator. And that is a huge lead generator for us. It's a lead converter for us. It's a long-term nurture and follow-up program. And Nikki consistently gets about 50% of the people she speaks with, she'll sign up on the report. So that's a high number because I've coached and trained her and helped her get to that number. But most people, if they do it well, can get between 25 and 35% of the people they speak with can add them to their database.
Mm.
So the first strategy you need to do is figure out, how do I get people into my database,
Yeah.
not just blast out and send them stuff. So things like that is a great way to get people into your database. Then it's, how do I build long-term relationships and stay top of mind effectively? One of the easiest things you can do is business interviews. And I always
Yeah.
tell agents this all the time is, go out there to the local businesses that are serving your community, bring out your cell phone, get out there, do a quick 2-3 minute video of who, what, where, when, why, and how. Just say, hey, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do this? How are you different? How can people find out about you? Connect with them and start using that content. And that works a number of reasons, because first is it provides content for your audience, which is
Yeah.
valuable. The second is it builds relationships with those local businesses, which is invaluable long term.
Mm-hmm.
But the third, and one of the most important ones, is they're going to share it with their audience.
Yep.
Because when you get featured on something, when someone interviews you and you get featured, you want to share it with your audience.
Yep.
I joke to this day, my mom has I was on the front cover of the Burlington Post, the newspaper for our area, and it's still on her fridge almost 8 or 9 years later. It's still there. She loves that. People tell their friends, so they tell their family when they get featured on things like that,
Yeah.
especially if they're not in the public light normally.
Mhm. Yeah.
So when you interview those local businesses, they're going to share it with their audience. And
Yeah.
I tell agents, make that part of the deal when you're interviewing them. Say, hey, listen, I'd like to do an interview with you. It should be a quick interview. Let people know a bit about yourself. We'd like to help promote your
Yeah.
business to our audience. All we ask is that you share it with your audience.
Mhm.
So now they're going to share it with their audience. And then the fourth part is you get the trust built into
Yeah.
from that interview. And I'm sure you get the same thing, just the same
Yeah.
reason you're having me
This
on your
is what
show.
we're doing right here. We call it
Exactly.
infiltrating other people's influence.
That's-
Infiltrating other people's influence. How do you do it?
Exactly.
Highlight them, like
Exactly.
interview them, right? And then
Exactly.
by doing so, it doesn't even, honestly, to be honest with you, what we leverage a lot of technology and we really look at our data. What
Yeah.
we have seen, even if the person doesn't share it, okay, all you have to do is tag them on the content.
Yeah.
People that follow them, they have a likability and trustability in the marketplace already, right?
Exactly.
So like, let's just talk about what we are talking about, local businesses, right? You go highlight a local business, right? Even without interviewing them, you just do a
Yep.
walkthrough of a local business, a local restaurant, and you say five reasons why you love that restaurant, and you just tag that location. That's all you gotta do. Like that's it. You're tapping into that location's influence
Exactly.
algorithm. This is not even people. This is not even psychology yet, right?
Yep.
You just hack the algorithm. When you hack the algorithm, you get in front of people. When you get in front of people, you hack the psychology. You hack the psychology. You just hacked that business's trust into you,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the point. And
Mhm.
if and I use examples. I use Oprah, Larry King, and Joe Rogan.
That's what
They're
they. Yeah.
they're experts because they bring on experts, and that
Yeah.
that trust gets passed on to them. So
Mhm.
that is one of the quickest things you can do. And now you've just expanded your reach to a whole new audience that wouldn't have met you before. And it now adds another layer, which I'll tie into the last thing I always talk about is strategy stacking, and that's
Mm.
where you layer your strategies so they are effective and work well together. A
Yeah.
lot of agents were like one trick ponies. They do one strategy,
Mm.
one thing, and I use COVID as an example. There's agents who are excellent at door knocking,
Mm.
and they're great at door knocking, and they're door knocking machines. Well, COVID comes along, and now you can't door knock, you can't go out, depending on where you live or lived. You can't go and meet people face to face. Your business just got obliterated. Or
Yep.
agents were like relying solely on open houses. Technologies changes, rules changes, all kinds of things
Yep.
change. So you have to make sure that your strategies layer
That's
together
it.
and then enhance what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can take one thing like a community event and then start stacking on your other strategies
Mm.
where you're using other strategies to prop up and
Yeah.
enhance
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Then you can have way more. So local business interviews absolutely crushes it with all of the things. From
Yeah.
self promotion, you're promoting them, but you're promoting yourself. It's
Mm.
community focused. So you're bringing value to the community. The community is reaching you. You can go online and offline where you're reaching people online and offline. You're prospecting through it if you do some call to actions within your
Yeah.
videos, and then
Yeah.
you're educating
Or the
people. So
business owner himself would probably give you business, right?
that's
Because no
exactly
other realtor went up to him and said, "Can I interview you for my, highlight you in the community?" What do you think they're
exactly.
gonna ask? What do you do? I'm a
Yep.
realtor, right? I
Yep.
help people in the community. They were like, "Oh, okay. I was thinking about selling."
Yep, exactly. So, and if you do that, and I agents come to me all the time and say, like, I don't have a lot of money. What could I do? I'd say go speak with businesses, one business a day, 250 businesses. Go bring them a coffee or sit down and have a coffee with them. If you did just that alone,
Hmm.
just going out and meeting local businesses, because you're tapping into their network, and that's how you can grow past that. Now, I will say, if you're doing business, is don't do the traditional what everyone does, which is home inspectors, lawyers, movers, staging companies. Do businesses outside of real
Yeah.
estate
Uh,
transactions.
Otherwise, you look like people could read in between
Exactly.
the lines, like, "Oh,
Exactly.
you're getting an inspector because you want to add value to me buying a house, but I'm not thinking about buying a house, so skip." Right?
Exactly. And you can pepper those in, but
Yeah.
as a whole, it should be people that serve the community. And they don't have to be in the four walls of the community you're serving, but they need to serve the community that you're going after. So dog walkers, hairstylists, restaurants, whatever, car
How about
wheel dealer.
principals of the schools, the school
Exactly.
districts, right?
Exactly.
Teachers, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
police chief, the mayor, freaking mayor,
Yep.
right?
Exactly. So the more, and then that's how you position yourself. That's where I talked about earlier about being the expert. You don't have to have sold homes. You can position yourself effectively and stand out. So to that point, another thing that I would do, and I teach this, and a lot of agents don't have the faith in this, is to brand yourself around the community that you serve rather than yourself. So
Mm,
in our farm, we branded ourselves as the Orchard Real Estate Team. So the orchard was the neighborhood that we farmed,
wow.
and we were the Orchard Real Estate Team. We got shirts done that said Orchard Real Estate Team. We had jackets with the Orchard Real Estate Team. We walk up to the appointment and we've got the Orchard Real Estate Team, not Ryan Smith, awesome agent, number one agent, whatever. And I remember very distinctly, and this plays over my head all the time. We had our first listing appointment. We showed up and we said, okay, what would you like to, we talked about pricing. And she's like, well, you tell me what I should do. You're the expert. I was like, we hadn't sold a home in that area before, but we positioned ourselves effectively. We were the expert. The next listing, it's like, well, you guys are the experts. We called you because you're the experts. So just shifting your positioning to branding yourself around the community, that alone can just make you stand out.
Wow.
It's just miles ahead of anyone else.
Wow, this is very validating. This is a lot of stuff that we teach. Like if I were to break down a lot of different things. So branding. Um, we teach that you don't want to get a domain to your name, like no one would
Yeah,
click that. Like
exactly.
you're literally telling people I got something to sell you if you got
Yeah,
ryansmith.com, right?
yeah,
You want to do something like moving in orchard,
exactly.
county.com, right?
Yep,
Orchardcountylifestyle.com, right?
yep.
Like
That's 100%
wherever
exactly.
wherever you want to sell, name your domain that, right?
Yeah,
That's domain. But what about business? We go even level deeper, not just the location, the specific person that you
mm,
want to help is what your brand is about.
yep,
First time home buyer.
yep,
How about young professionals who are first time home buyer, right? How about seniors that are looking to sell their house, right? Like you,
Yep.
whatever, whoever, who is more important than what and everything else, right?
Yep.
Like, especially you, doesn't even matter. They don't care.
Yep. They don't.
They don't. A lot of people, when you go up to them and say, "Hey, I'm Ryan Smith, I'm a realtor," as soon as they turn from you, they have already forgot your name and they forgot you're a realtor.
Yep.
Why? Because they don't need you yet. Most people, I would say
Exactly.
97% of people don't that you we come across on a daily basis
Yep.
don't need you right now.
Exactly.
So when you
Exactly.
are just like, oh, I'm a Ryan Smith name tag and all that, right? They forget about you. They want to intentionally forget about you because
Yeah.
you gave them that taste, like, oh, this guy just wanted to sell me something, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
We're programmed that way. Now, door knocking. Let's talk about door knocking. I haven't door knocked in my 12 years in business, and I was introverted when I started, so door knocking was a thing. Like, oh, that's something I'm never gonna do, right?
Yep.
But when I first started coaching, there was an agent that was door knocking for 5 or 6 months, 5 hours a day. And in 6 months, he had collected five people's contact information, not five clients or not five potential buyers or sellers. Five people exchanged contact information with you by door knocking 5 hours. And I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
I was like, so why do you want to keep doing it? It's like, because he was really like about farming. I want this area to know me and me
Yeah.
only. And that's it. I'm going to keep doing this until I become that. So I'm like, okay, what are you doing, right? And I'm suiting up and I'm approaching the door and I'm letting them, when they open the door, I'm letting them know I'm a local real estate agent. And if they know someone that's thinking about buying or selling, I'm like, all of that has to change, right?
100%.
Because you
100%.
are looking like a salesperson, you are
Yeah.
introducing yourself as a salesperson. So we just helped him tweak because he didn't want to change door knocking and do something else.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, if you have really dedicated yourself doing that, let's try that for another 6 months. What are you gonna lose, right? But I can guarantee you, I'll get you a client at least in a month, right?
Yep.
Like I'll help you tweak your conversations, the way you approach it, the way you come up to the door and all of that. And he did, in the next 6 months, he did $100,000 in GCI.
Wow. Yep.
And that's just changing the approach. So I guess, like, I'm telling the story to kind of make the point that you may have tried something because you have seen someone else do it or get results with it, but you haven't really figured out the principles behind how you should do it,
Yep.
right? And you may have even tried, even if you know the principles, you may have even not tried it long enough, right? This kid, he was young too, right? Like, he had a lot of things against him, like a young kid showing up with the suit up and knocking on the door telling people he's a realtor. But like, he did it, he had commitment. And that's why for following 6 months, when he had the strategy, he just took off. Imagine he gave up in 2 months and he fell for another shiny object and then
Yep.
tried that for 2 months. I don't care if you're falling for a shiny object or not. If you have fell for something and pulled the trigger on something, at least try it out for 6 months,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
And look back on your data and adapt. Don't just keep
Exactly.
doing things again and again expecting different results.
Yep.
Right? That's what Einstein said, right? Doing the same thing over and over again expecting different results is the definition of insanity. So
Yep.
don't be insane. Do things for a week, look back in your week and see, okay, Monday I door knocked for 2 hours. What were the results? These are who did I talk to? How many conversations have I had? What can I do better next time I talk to someone, right? Well, why did that person tell me he was not interested? And when they said they were not interested, what did I say? What could I have said better, right? And adapt with your strategy and do that for 6 months. And I guarantee you, I don't even care if you don't have a strategy, you will see results. That's
Exactly.
how it works, right? Consistency works. Now, as far as technology, let's talk about technology.
I want to add in there a strategy on door knocking, because I want to add
Yeah.
in because I think a lot of agents do exactly what you just said, which was that what that agent said, that where they go out there and they think door knocking is about getting their name out there, and they think, well, if I just door knock enough times, people are going to see me, they're going to get to know me. You have to start with permission. And this is where, if you ever read Permission Marketing by Seth Godin, one of the best books, I think every agent should read it. And it really helps you reframe how you see business. And most agents come to the door thinking, I'm there to push my message to people. And I say, getting your name out there is not the effective way. They door knock going, hey, I want to tell you that I'm great and I want to ask if you're going to sell your home. You have to switch that. And what we did was we did our report and we tried to get value and get people, we offer value, and it's the carrot, and say, do you want this thing? We got this awesome thing. But if you don't have things and you don't have a strategy in place to door knock, one of the best things you can do is promote a local cause in your community. And
Wow.
what we should tell people is like, find something that's going on in your community. Maybe there's something that needs, maybe there's a playground that needs to be built. Maybe
Yeah.
there's an event that's going on. Maybe there's a charity that needs some awareness. And go door knocking to let people know about that, and then tack on the real estate thing at the end.
Mm.
So we had in our community, we had there's a little son and his dad were building birdhouses out of reclaimed lumber,
Oh wow.
and they were selling them, and all the money, every dollar went to the hospital. There's a new hospital being built, and we met them door knocking, and I was like, this is amazing, this is awesome. He's like, him and his dad are building this thing. This is awesome to see. They're building houses, which tied into real estate. They're in the community that we're farming. So we said, let's support them. Let's promote these people,
Mm.
and let's get awareness to them. At the time, I think they had like five or $8,000 in sales at that time. They'd been doing it for a year or so. We thought it was awesome. I brought them into our office, and we had our office team meeting, and we have 200 plus agents at our office, and they ended up selling $1,300 worth of birdhouses that day. We
Wow.
then partnered with a bank in our community, and we're like, let's do an event and let's support this. Let's support this cause. So the bank and I partnered together. We said, let's do one big sale in the parking lot at the bank. We promoted the heck out of it. We had two different news stations there. We had a radio station there. We had a counselor, like a town counselor and a provincial parliament person come out. They ended up selling over $5,000. I think the total between the two things was about $8,000 almost that we had helped sell. It was easy. We went door to door. And we're like, hey, we're the Orchard Real Estate team. There's an event we're co-hosting on this date. Would you like to show up? And they're like, oh, sure. Okay. No. And then it's like, oh, by the way, we have this report. If you're interested as well, would you like to get a copy of
Mm.
it? We flew under the radar. We got to connect with people. It brings value. So the reason I bring this up is if you don't have something of super value, you're not sure what to do, promote something else. And rather than paying sponsorship money, which that's one that people get sucked into, here's money, put my logo on something and hope I get business. Find a cause that you can support and say, instead of me giving you cash, I'm going to promote it to my farm. I'm going to promote it to my
Mm.
area. I'll go out there, I'll door knock it. I'll let people know about it. I'll pay for the postcards. On one side of the postcard is the event, and one side
Yeah.
is your stuff. And I'm going to let people know about that. It just completely changes how people see you.
Mm.
And if you are a person who is uncomfortable talking about real estate, if you are introvert, I'm an introvert myself, it's so much easier to say, hey, we got this awesome thing. We just want to invite you out. There's no rejection. There's
Yeah.
no, you're an idiot. What are you doing here? We're like, hey, we're doing this. And if you don't want to support a cool cause, then like you're an idiot anyway. So it just changes the approach. So it allows people to get out there easy and quickly. And you can do that right now and go out there and door knock and build relationships. So that's my
That's a great tip.
add-on.
Yeah, that's definitely a great tip. And this is called attraction marketing, right? There is no chance of getting rejected, and you're not really chasing anyone, right? Yes, sure,
Exactly.
you're going out there door knocking, but you're actually calling them to the event, and it will allow you to actually network
Yeah.
with them if they actually show up, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're self promoting at the same time. Now let's
On the flip side
yeah,
of that, one more thing I want to add too is
yeah.
when you do it well, when you do attraction marketing with permission, you can grow your database very quickly. Nikki's outdoor knocking right now. So she's outdoor knocking. She can get between 3 and 5 people an hour to sign up for our report. So if the person you mentioned 5 people, it's contact
In
information in
five
however
months,
long,
yeah.
like in 1 hour, she can get 3 to 5 people easily. So when you understand how to add value and how to get permission from people and how to attract people, you can build a solid database very quickly and very
Mm.
effectively. But it comes from understanding psychology and understanding value and how to do that and not pushing yourself. So, let's move on. I just want to throw that in there. So,
Let's switch gears a little bit, right? So how has technology changed the way agents approach or you guys approach geofarming, and what tools do you recommend for agents to boost their efforts?
so it's kind of a double-edged sword. Technology has actually made it easier and harder.
Hmm.
What we're finding is people are going back to more old school things because there's so much technology and so
Yeah.
much things fighting for our attention and so much that's why old school door knocking is so much
Hmm.
more effective now than it used to be. 15 years ago when I started, it was hard to door knock because a lot of agents were door knocking. Now no one's door knocking. Now it's easier to get it in front of people. But that being said, for us, like the 3 biggest things we use is Canva, ChatGPT, and MailChimp. Those, like, for
Hmm.
the report, we create stuff. Those things are easy. CRM is just an absolute must. And any agent who's not using a CRM is you're leaving yourself out huge. So if you don't have a CRM, and then people always ask, well, what CRM should I use? And that's a whole other conversation we can have. But like if you're not staying organized, and especially if you want to do deals at a high level, if you don't have a way to organize it, then you're not going to do deals at a high level because it's
Mm.
impossible, physically and mentally impossible to manage and
To
track
remember
and do
everything
that.
and track
Yeah,
everything and keep track of all your tasks
exactly,
and follow-ups and
exactly,
clients and opportunities and
and it's the
appointments
little
and
things too.
reminders and
Exactly. It's the small things that make a difference. So one of the things that we do, like we make notes in the call, when someone will chat and talk about something, we, Nikki and I talk about it. Like
Mm.
she'll say like, "Hey, last time I chatted, I think I remember you saying this," and we throw it in like we just remembered it, even though we had
Yeah.
it written down. Like your son's going to this school. It's like, "Hey, actually, I think you remember you saying that your son was going to the school." Oh yeah. So little things like that make a difference. When we did hard copy reports, we dropped off. We had everyone's
Yeah.
name, we had everyone's address, and we would before we go drop them off, we'd have it on the piece of paper, and we'd go up.
Mm.
So just saying their name. Hey, Karen, here's your report. Like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And it's like most of the people I don't remember their names, especially the first few months. So just little
Yeah.
things like that makes a difference.
Mm.
As far as technology goes, I would say a big one is Facebook groups.
Mm.
Is from a hyper local community level, is getting active in Facebook groups,
Yeah.
because people are there and they're having conversations. Most agents make the mistake of using a Facebook page and they use it to push their message out there and not interact. And Facebook groups are so much
Yeah.
powerful because they're they're conversations, they're real time conversations. And I say it's like a party, and people are having a party. You can go around to the party and there's people having a conversation over here, there's people having a conversation here, and you can jump in, you can talk over here.
Mm.
Versus when you have a Facebook page, you're pushing your message out there, and that's
Mhm.
like me standing on a stage saying, Ryan, I'm awesome, I sell more homes than anyone." Like no one cares. So that's a big one that either starting your own Facebook group or getting active and involved in the Facebook
Yeah.
groups in your
Yeah.
area can be super powerful.
That's actually one of our hacks for organic traffic mastery is, we are very heavy on digital marketing, and we teach these like small hacks that a lot of agents overlook.
Yeah.
And we have had like multiple agents hit 100,000 GCI just doing Facebook groups, like getting
Yep.
hyper focused on
Yep.
3 to 5 local Facebook groups, going in there, adding value, and become the top contributor, getting the best top
Yep.
contributor. And then and then we teach like what we call is honeypot marketing, where you offer something so irresistible that is relevant to the ideal client that you want to attract, right?
Yep.
For example, first time home buyers. You want to attract first time home buyers, go offer a calculator that will show people how much house they can afford with their rent payment.
Yep.
Who wants to try it for free, right?
Yep.
You get a ton of people raise their hand, and the group admins won't have a problem unless it's like a group by an agent, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like these are leads.
Yep.
Every person that raises their hand and say, "I want to try it for free," you take them into the messenger, qualify them, book a consultation appointment. Like, hey, let's show you the calculator, right? And you
Yep.
book a consultation appointment. A calculator, like a lot of agents, when they first learned this trick, they were like, "So how do I get the calculator?" I was like, you don't need a calculator. This is just a lead magnet, right?
Yeah.
They're just making it up. But like, yeah, it's amazing how we a lot of times, because of all the shiny objects around us, like we like overlook the simplest things. Like another simple strategy or hack that we teach for our organic traffic mastery, especially for struggling or new agents, we don't teach them how to spend money on anything. Like, don't spend money on
Yep.
anything. You know what you will need to spend money on is systems, but even that is not needed. But another strategy is just listing houses for lease.
Mm.
List houses for lease on Marketplace, on
Yep.
Craigslist, and even Zillow. You generate anywhere from 100 to 300 leads a month.
Yeah.
You qualify them based on their credit score, bankruptcy status, monthly income, and those who qualify to buy, ask them why haven't they considered buying.
Yep.
You would convert at least at the very minimum 40% to hear you out, to get on a call with you, to
Yep.
understand what it takes,
Yep.
and 10% to actually agree to buy.
Yep. And if
Out
you
of
don't, you're building a long-term pipeline. If they can't buy
Yeah,
now, if you can help them long term. One of the things that we do is I call it borrow listings, and I teach a program through my training on how to
borrow
borrow
listings.
listings.
That's
Yeah, so we borrow listings from other agents. We get permission from agents in our
yeah.
area, and we advertise those listings. So we put in Facebook Marketplace,
Mm.
classified ads, and we drive them to a
Yeah.
lead capture page, get
Yeah.
them to register, and we get between 2 to 5 leads per listing that we borrow.
Wow.
We cherry pick the listings that we want to promote, And yeah, we were getting 100 to 150 leads a month, easily just promoting this. But what happens is it's not just the boring listings and the leads. It's when you promote them in the community, they see them and they see these listings. And to the point where we had agents reaching out going, wow, you guys are crushing it. You're getting all these listings and like, wow. So if they're in the industry and they see that going, wow, you're crushing it, general public also sees, wow, they're getting all these listings. Holy smokes, these people are listing all these properties. So
Mm.
it just creates visibility in a different way, and it helps again build
Yeah.
trust,
Yeah.
and you generate leads. And then now what you do is you generate those leads. You have a list of buyer leads, and then you go to your sellers and say, I've got X amount of buyers looking in this neighborhood. Are you thinking of selling? Then you go to your buyers and say, hey, I've got a list of X amount of sellers who might be selling. Work with me. And the first thing I'm going to do is open you up to the list of sellers, and you bring those two together. So it allows you to just create more strategy stacking and
Yeah.
elevate your business. So yeah, I think when it comes to technology, I think it's relevant to their expertise level and their experience. And like you said, I'd rather start with little to no money and then layer on, because most agents don't get really successful spending a lot of money up front.
Yeah.
Most agents do that to maintain or
Mm.
to kind of move into the next level.
Yeah.
Most agents, to get from zero to $100,000 a year, you can spend $0
Yep.
easily and grow your business, but
Yeah.
you have to know what to do.
I think the key is understanding marketing principles, right?
Yes.
Like going from chasing people to
Yeah.
attracting people, right? Once
Yeah.
you just learn that principle and
Yep.
those strategies, you start seeing results right away. And we talk to agents all the time. We talk to anywhere between 20 to 30 agents a week that are struggling in the business. And a lot of times we just help them for free. Like, hey,
Yep.
you can afford our program, but just go do this. Just
Yep.
go do this over and over again. And I think all these strategies, right? Like there is like a ton, millions of shiny
Yep.
objects out there. And there's so much free knowledge also on YouTube, right? You could go how to door knock and you find, right? The problem is I feel like with agents not really being convinced with the process, right? And
100%.
or not very convinced on themselves that they could actually be successful and
Yep.
see results in this business.
Yep.
So what advice would you give agents that are looking to become the go-to expert in their area, in their community, and build strong community relationships?
So there's two principles I talk about, and it's kind of like yin and yang.
Yeah.
It's think long term, act short term. And you have to have both of those in place. So you have to have a long term mindset going, okay, I'm going to be doing this for a significant amount of time. I garden, so it ties into this, and you don't go out and plant a seed and then come back and go, oh, nothing's there tomorrow. I'm going to give up on gardening. So you have to have a plan for long term, but you have to take short term action that's going to help start to get results quick. So when you do that, agents need to understand, like, I'm in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
How do I plan that long haul? And then go, what can I do to hack my way to getting quicker results up front as well? So it's stick with a couple strategies. Don't do one. I would say do one to get started. You
Yeah.
need at least two strategies to layer on top of each other to do
Mm.
that, because you need kind of a way to measure against each other and say what's more effective, what's not more effective. And like you said, 6 months, try it for consistently and go, okay, is this working? Is this not working? But you need to start in a smaller scale to do that. This
Yeah.
is where agents go too big. So I would say one of my mantras is it's better to scale up than to scale back.
Mm.
So figure out the kinks in your system, figure out the little nuances, use it at a smaller scale, get those things going where it's well polished, well set up. And then you go, okay, now that I've got that, now when I launch this to the next 1,000 homes or 2,000 homes, it's a lot easier, a lot quicker to get those results. So you got to be willing to take risks, and you got to be willing to screw up. You got to be willing to try things and see how it works. And then once you see something that works, double down on that and just
Mm.
keep growing and building on that. I don't knock anyone's business ever, but there are agents who, like, they've done the exact same thing for 20 years. And it's like, you've done the same thing for 20 years. You haven't changed anything. You haven't adapted anything.
Mm.
And those agents, when they got started, usually have a great business. But then over time, because of technology changes and
Yeah.
rule changes, things
Yeah.
like that, they're usually the ones who kind of their business gets chipped away at.
Yeah.
You need to be going, okay, how do I evolve? How do I add on? How do I stay ahead? If you're willing to do that, then you're gonna be able to grow. But don't just do one thing. And I think going back to what you said about the gentleman door knocking for 5 months or whatever, I would say it takes the same amount of time, effort, and energy to door knock with the right approach or any marketing approach as it is the wrong approach. So if you're doing things and you're not getting results and you're not sure what you should be getting, you need to have some kind of basic metrics to go,
Mm.
okay, I'm doing this for 5 months and I got nothing. Then you need to know, what can I measure this against to see, am I getting the results I need?
Yeah.
And the nice thing is with our business, I'm sure you see the same thing, is it's very linear and very like easy to dissect where you're
Yeah.
messing
Or
up.
you're falling short.
And
Yeah.
right, you can go back and go, okay, I don't have enough closings. Okay, is it because I don't have enough appointments or I don't have enough transactions? Okay, don't have enough. I have enough transactions. Is it because of this? And you can
Clients,
literally go back to
appointments, consultations,
exactly,
conversations, leads,
to cold
time spent in
exactly.
dialing.
So you start at the end and then just go back to where you find that missing piece and they go, okay, that's what it is. So if you're getting started and you're not sure what to do, when you understand that timeline and that process, then it's easy to just go, okay, there's your problem.
Yeah.
And for some agents, they're in the thick of it and they don't see it because they're
Yeah.
you can't see the
blind
forest
spot.
through the trees, whatever. Yeah. They're in the going, I don't know what's going on. It's like you and I could look from outside and go like, it's right there. And like, how the heck did you know that's, and then that one tweak that, like you said, the guy door knocking, it's like changing his approach completely changes the outcome on the other side. And a number of years ago, I did a training session for our office and it was the 10% rule. So I explained to people like how much effort. I started opening saying, how much do you think it would take to double your business? And people said, well, I have to double my work, double my time, double. So I showed 7 processes, seven ways you can increase your business. So number of hours spent lead generating, number of leads you generate per hour, how many leads you generate overall, total commission, total number of sales, blah, 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 total price point, whatever. And I said, here's 7 steps. If I just increase 10%, little 10% better on this, 10% better on this, 10% better on this, across 7 processes, your business doubles. So you don't need to get twice as good.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you get 10% worse on each one of those, you half your business.
Yeah.
So some agents are going, why am I not getting the results that Joe Blow is getting?
Yeah.
I'm putting in almost as much effort or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but it's just that 10%, the 10% across those things stack against you or for you. So it's understanding that. And I think when agents get that, then it's like, okay, now I can see where those pieces are missing. That's where I can shift. And then when you understand that concept, you can have amazing results on the other end.
No, that's a very profound advice, especially with, agents that's been in business for a while and they see, because of not adapting with the market, not adapting with the, environment, not adapting with the industry, right? The technology and everything that's happening, they just see, shrinking of their business.
Yeah.
And then over time, what I see is that they take it as their reality, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's just what the business has to offer me, right? Maybe it's time for me to retire, or maybe, it's time for me to just sell 10 houses a year, or whatever it might be, right? Or maybe I just don't have the skill set. It's too much of a gap for me to learn all of this. So I'll let the youngsters do their thing and I'll just settle for whatever I get, right? And that's that limiting belief, right? I see a lot of agents, especially with the trends like shifts in the marketplace, right? So what would you say to agents that might be trying to break into a community, but they feel like it's highly competitive, or they don't have the skill set, or what's your advice to them?
It's a great question. I get that often, and I'm going to say the first mistake is don't look at what people are doing who are doing high level of volume and think that that's what you have to do. Because if you've never seen under their trunk, if you don't know what's under the hood of their car, you don't know how they got there or what's keeping them there. So a lot of agents think, well, I saw
what they're going through, right? Or what they're going through right now, right?
Or how much money they're actually putting in their pocket. Like, so a lot of agents will say like, oh, I see they got a billboard, so I'm going to go get a billboard. Well, they have 50 billboards. And the only reason they have 50 billboards is because they've been doing 1,000 deals a year. And that's not what got them to do the 1,000 deals a year. So don't look at the people at the high level to get to where you want to go yet.
Chapter 20 versus chapter 1, right?
Exactly. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, if you're getting started, actually do your research, because I can tell you with certainty, I focus on geographic farming. I've taught thousands and thousands of agents. Most people are not competing against who they think they're competing against. And most agents think there's a dominant agent in their area, or they think that there's someone who's doing a lot more business than they're doing, and they're not. And I walked hand in hand with agents going through, and they're like, holy crap, they don't. Even my partner Nikki, like, we were looking at another area she wants to expand into, and she's like, well, so and so has a lot of business, and then she's like, oh, they have like 3 deals in that area. It's like, right, because we see all their other deals. So if you think someone's farming it, find out if they actually are farming the area. I'll give you an example. There's an agent team in our area. They do about 400 deals a year. So just by default, if I go into any pocket, any neighborhood, they're going to have a large percentage of deals that are doing that neighborhood. It doesn't mean they're actually specifically farming that neighborhood. So from a competition standpoint, most times there's not agents doing it at the high level that you think they are. And then the other thing is, if they are farming it, are they farming it well, or are they farming it the way you would farm it? There's a lot of people who would never use that agent because they don't like them. They don't like the way they look. They don't like the way they do their business. And you also have to accept they may not like the way you look. They may not like the way you dress. They may not like the way you do business. So there's still a lot of business to be had. My numbers are up until about 20% market share, I wouldn't even be concerned.
Yeah.
If they have 20% to 50% market share, then I would be going, is this really a good choice for me to do this? Because if they're doing 1 out of 2 deals, it's like, okay, that's tough to compete against. But most people, I guarantee you, they're I have them on my show. I know who the agents are who are doing high level because they've been on my podcast. There aren't a lot of those agents who are doing 30, 40, 50% market share. So a lot of times it's a lot easier to compete. 1 out of 10, there's still 9 out of 10 deals that you can get in that area. So if you're only doing 10% market share. And then getting started, I would say, is be unique to yourself. Don't try to be like everyone else. And this is where, if you're just doing what everyone does, which send the postcard, talking about how great you are, how many homes you've sold, you're going to look like everyone else. So if you're getting started, think about how you can add value. Just go back and watch this all over again, the things we just talked about.
I love it. And that was a lot of value. Definitely. I still have like 9 questions to go, and we are out of time. It's interesting that you mentioned and about the competition. And I say this in my academy is competition sucks, right? Go pick your top producer and let me audit them. And usually what we come up with is they're not really marketing themselves properly, and they are out there. There we go. I think I got you here. They're out there. Like I was talking about, like competition sucks out there, right? Even if someone is producing at a high level, when you go audit them for their marketing, right? Their marketing skills, their branding, it sucks. So if you yourself, if you were to just start brand new, learn the marketing principle, learn branding properly, and really went all in on it, really believing in it, right? And knowing the strategy, holding high standard for yourself, you could beat any top producer out there. In my opinion, majority of the top producers that are out there in today's market are paying Zillow 30 to 40% of their money. Right? Realtor.com, homes.com, realty.com, right? If you are producing at a high level, right, you have 30% of market share. If you're not giving your money back to one of these platforms, I'm going to change my name. Like there is no way, right? And very, very, very little exceptions to this. There are agents out there that actually know branding, no marketing, no strategies, right? And actually have built their business from ground up. So it's really easy to really truly build a profitable business. You don't have to beat anyone. You don't have to beat anyone. Don't try to get 100% of the pie when 1% of the pie could feed your generations, right? Like don't try to get 130% of a neighborhood business. You don't need it. 1% could feed you and your kids and and your grandkids, right? So you don't really need all the business or be the top 1%. Just figure out what do you want to accomplish as success.
Exactly.
And go after it. Like really understand the principles of building a holistic business. And that's what we teach. Now, Ryan, thank you for adding this much value. I definitely got to bring you back now. I got a lot more questions to ask you to add more value to our community. How can people reach out to you, find out about your program, and see what you have to offer?
Sure. I think the best way is going back and joining my Facebook group. So that's where I'm putting a lot of time and energy into. We're doing live training, coaching in there. We share tips and tricks and strategies. You can find out more about me. So it kind of keeps everything in one place. You can go to the Expert Agent Facebook group. So if you go to Facebook and join it there, you can check out the podcast. It's Launch Your Farm Podcast. So I've had 115 episodes. So it's on all the major platforms. You can check that out. We put it on pause and we're relaunching in the new year with the new format. So we're going to be doing that. You can go to launchyourfarm.com. I'm about to update that whole website. So I don't really send people to that website because it's not updated, but the Facebook group is the best way to find out, connect, and get insights and strategies and tips, and connect with other agents who are doing it as well. So the Expert Agent, you can find on Facebook. It's big green logo. You'll see it there. And add me to Facebook. You can connect with me there. I'm always there dropping advice and happy to connect and share.
No, for sure. Yeah, that'll probably be the easiest way. That's how we got connected on
Yeah.
Facebook. So, just look him up. He's a silly guy that, looks like him.
Yeah.
And if you need some advice, reach out to him. And Ryan, stick around with me. I got some stuff before we end here.
Yeah.
And those of you who are out there, you might be someone that's just getting started or maybe struggling in your business, not seeing the consistency you want to see. We are taking 5 agents this month, this rest of the month, 5 more agents to, get on a call with us. We will be able to look into your business, try to identify the gap for you, and just show you what you need to be doing to get unstuck and start seeing results in your business. Send me a message if you're interested to be one of those 5 agents, and I'll see you guys in the next video.